Aha, good morning. It's working. Apologies for the delay. Good morning, everybody. I started the video and then it wouldn't let me put it in this landscape mode. So, it's Sunday morning. It's 10:05. Good morning. I hope you're well and welcome to Facebook Live. It's Mark. So today we're starting the season of to talk about enlightenment step by step, I've called it. And so today is the first lesson. I don't like the word lesson. Let's call it a seminar. And if anyone's got a better word, I don't like lesson or seminar. But let's see how it goes. So today is the first thing that we're going to talk about, and I thought we'd begin with, good morning Kira, I thought we'd begin with definitions, and I've got a few definitions that I've sort of picked up along the way, and some are from books I've read, some are from teachers, some are from, one is from Maharishi, obviously. Hi Ben, good morning. So we'll start with definitions, and I'd also be interested to hear from you guys as to your definitions, because I think what I would like to do with this sort of 10-week session, good morning Ruth, is to sort of have a kind of a collaborative approach to it. I mean, I've got a plan and I've got some points that I would like to share. But then also we're all human, and we all have our own. Good morning, Luca. We're all human, and we all have our own, experience of life and of how the mind works and how our lives work. And I thought, my purpose of doing this season of sessions was to firstly convey some learnings that I've come across, and also to sort of maybe inspire you to possibly get some insights, see things in a different way, maybe to inspire you with your practice, and maybe to allow you to maybe undergo some possibly radical or maybe not so radical sort of shifts in how you experience the world for the better, in a good way. So that's my purpose. Hi Linda and Dawn. So let's begin. And we're gonna, as we've got 10 lessons, there may be moments where I say, let's park that and talk about it later, rather than rushing along, because I think the collection will be more than the sum of the parts. So definitions. I've got 5 or 6 definitions which I would like to raise to you, and if you guys have anything that you'd like to put down, just stick them in the comments, and we'll see how it goes. So first one, which came from I like this because it makes me laugh. In the I don't know how you pronounce it. Americans call it the Tao De Jing. They take a T and make it like a D, I think. But I'm going to call it the Tao Te Ching. And the first verse of that says that the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. Or if we're American, the Tao that cannot be named is... Sorry, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. This is quite interesting because it, and there is a kind of a thread somewhere along the way that when you talk about enlightenment, in a way, you're sort of immediately going away from it, because enlightenment is a living, breathing state of functioning, and to talk about something sort of takes you one step away from it. But that I'm not sure that's entirely accurate or helpful, but I thought I would raise it because it's kind of a humorous, worth considering, I would say, that if you start talking about it, does that take you away from it? So that's my first definition. And then my second one is one that came, I read that Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, as you know, This was a quote that he didn't use very often, but it struck me when I saw it because it made me think. And this was that enlightenment is the absolute ability to spontaneously fulfill your desire, or to spontaneously fulfill desire. And yeah, so I'll read it again. So enlightenment is the absolute ability to spontaneously fulfill desire. Now, when I first read this, I thought, well, that sounds preposterous in a way, because that would imply being like a superhero or some sort of god or something, that to arrive at enlightenment, you can kind of get anything you want. Well, what if you wanted to, I don't know, fly to the moon or you know, live forever? Then is that real? So I wondered, but I always was with Maharishi. I always thought, well, you know, I'd like to not dismiss it, because there must be a reason, there must be something in it. And then I realized later that this applies to an inner state, not necessarily the power to sort of, you know, enlarge my body the size of the Empire State Building. So it applies to an inner state, because desire is an inner functioning. So then if you take that apart, that sentence, enlightenment, absolute, is the absolute ability. Something that's absolute means it's unconditional. It doesn't require anything outside of it to be. So something that's absolute means that it's sort of independent, autonomous. So an absolute ability means always there, doesn't rely on anything, non-changing, self-sufficient. So I quite like that. So this is an absolute ability, which means it must be built in and not requiring our effort and not requiring us to do anything. So spontaneous. So an absolute ability. And then to spontaneously fulfill desire. Spontaneously means, again, just there, automatically fulfilling desire. So absolute ability to spontaneously fulfill desire. To me, this sounds like a perfect life. A perfect life, but it's an internal. We're talking about something internal on the level of consciousness. So there we go. That's definition number 2. Enlightenment is the absolute ability to spontaneously fulfill desire. Third definition. And this is not so much a definition, but I thought it would be worthwhile considering the word enlightenment, in light. Now, there must be a reason why this word has existed for a long time, because, you know, in the past, presumably this word existed. So why would it be so? In light means not dark. So if it's light, then presumably you don't walk into things. Okay, well, let's think of it. If it's dark in this room here, and it's dark outside, there's no light on, if I want to do anything, then I'm probably going to walk into a wall or hit my head on the wall or something, or hit my shin on a table or a chair, because I can't see. I can't see because there's no light. And that there may be the reason for enlightenment is to describe an inner state such that in life we see everything, we see clearly. So we see clearly. It doesn't mean that things necessarily change in the outside world, but we do see clearly. We see clearly. So then maybe that means that we don't then go walking into the walls or walking off the cliffs or bashing our head or our shins against the table. So again, it's an inner mode of functioning whereby something is different such that we don't crash around and hurt ourselves. So maybe there's something in that definition as well. Hi Martin, good morning. So that's my third definition. Enlightenment means to be able to see what's what in light, not dark. Okay, there's the third one. The next one is, and I picked this up from, I think, another teacher, and this one is called, he defined it as waking up to the dream. Waking up to the dream. Now, some people talk about waking up from a dream, whereas this definition was waking up to the dream. And this I quite like because there is a lot of, a common thread in enlightenment is that, you might have heard of it, that life is seen to be illusory. And if life is illusory, then an illusion is something that appears to be the case, but when you examine closely, or when you sort of see clearly, again, seeing clearly again, you realize that it's not actually how it is. An illusion is something that appears to be so, but actually isn't, when you sort of know how it works. So in enlightenment, as in waking up to the dream, means that previously you were in a dream and it appeared to be real, and then you woke up to the fact that it's a dream. There's a term, lucid dreaming, where you realize you're dreaming, because most of the time we're in a dream and it feels real, but then when you wake up you realize it was not real. But lucid dreaming, i.e. realizing, knowing that you are dreaming, being awake to the dream, means that you know it's a dream. You don't feel, you're not under the illusion that it's real. So this is waking up to the dream, waking up to the dream, seeing through the illusory nature of life. There's a traditional saying, it's a parable actually, a story to describe seeing clearly. Again, I like this expression because it sounds very sort of matter of fact, seeing clearly. And the story goes, it's an analogy, that there's a village, and in the village one day it's dusk, and one of the children wanders off into the woods, and they see a snake, a great big snake. And so the child gets freaked out, runs back to the village and says there's a fat, great, massive snake in the wood. So all the villagers get all freaked out, heart palpitations, rushing and running and stressed out. And then the wise elder of or the wise younger, whoever the wise one is, maybe a woman, let's say it's a wise young woman. She, before reacting to what she's been told, she walks out, bear in mind this is dusk, and realizes, looks a bit more clearly and realizes that it's not a string, it's actually a long, thick piece of discarded rope. So she then sees clearly, she sees accurately. The child, the other child, who mistook the rope for a snake, didn't see clearly because it was dusk, didn't look properly, freaked out, made a mistake. The wise one saw what's what and told everyone else. Everyone was, okay, fine, no longer stressed out, because now we see what's really the case. It's the analogy of the string and the snake, or the rope and the snake. And the interesting thing is that even though all the villagers, when they heard that there was a snake, they all freaked out. They freaked out about something that wasn't real, but appeared to be so. This is the rope and the snake. Rope and the snake. It never was a snake. It never was a snake. Just appeared to be so. In reality, always was a rope. So therefore, it's a matter of seeing clearly. The world outside doesn't have to change, but our inner way of seeing, way of experiencing can undergo a shift such that we see what's what. So that's one definition. And that seeing what's what, you could say, is another definition. Hi Ian, morning. Okay, last one, and this is to do with stories. Now, I can't remember where I read this one, but this one, my final definition is freedom from the story of me. So a common description for enlightenment, which you may have read, is self-realization. And when that is spelt, the self is written with a capital S, self-realization. Self-realization is a description of enlightenment, a word to describe enlightenment. So let's look at these two words. Self with a big S, and then realization. So to realize the big self, what does that mean? Presumably there must be something that's a small self then. If there's a big self, there must be a small self. So the small self is what we would call me and my story and my place in the world. This is commonly what we think of if someone says, "Who are you?" We commonly think of ourselves as a person in here who lives in this world, and we were born and we were going to die. This is what we would call me, I am a person, I do this, I do that. And normally the identification is with the body in some way. I'm in here, I'm not in planet Pluto, I'm here on Earth. So there's the I, and I am small self, which means I'm limited in time and space. I'm located here, location in time and space. With the small s, self. Who am I? I am Mark. I am a person, a human. Now, self-realization with a big S must be something else. What is that? Self-realization with a big S is I realize I am not solely this small thing, human. So that means that who I know myself to be, or what I know myself to be, is bigger. Actually, it means it's infinite, because my awareness, my consciousness, is now not solely identified with the story of me. This is what we say. Freedom from the story of me was my definition. Freedom from the story of me. That story of me is just one aspect of life. The analogy that comes to mind is from the Upanishads, the wave and the water. Wave and water. If you have the English Channel, let's say, rough. So you have the waves, lots of waves, up and down, up and down. Each wave is different. Each wave is moving, so it's always changing. Some waves are big, some waves are small, some waves are dying, some waves are coming up, being born and dying. This is the wave nature, waves. On the surface, apparent life. Waves. And if the waves could talk, if each wave had an I, a personality, then one wave could say to the other, "Oh, I'm bigger than you, I'm smaller than you." So we have comparison, competition, separation. Each wave is separate from the others. So this is the surface, apparent nature. And this is us humans in how we can see ourselves and our place in the world. Our appearance, i.e. the body, me and my story, is the wave And also, though, more importantly, or actually of equal importance, is the water nature. So all those waves are all made of water. And water is the constant. The water, even though the waves are getting born and dying and they're bigger and smaller and competitive and separate from each other, the water value is not. The water is all of it. The water is not separate because it's everything in terms of the ocean. And the water never dies. It just changes. A wave collapses into and then becomes another. So the water value is unchanging, stable, non-separate. It is total, infinite, unbounded, never-ending, in a way immortal. Now, both exist. Hi Lindy, hi Aidan. Both exist. Wave nature and water nature. Both are there. If one only experiences one of them, then one is missing out on the other one. Okay, so both, we need both. Both would be what you would say seeing what's what. Wave nature, water nature. And in humans, that is the same. Then we have our wave nature, appearance, physical structure, which means body, separation, bodies are separate. And then we have the inner consciousness. Consciousness is the water. Consciousness is the water. And if we are in touch with that, as well as with our physical nature, then life is complete. We would be seeing clearly. And this is going back. So freedom from the story of me means freedom from identifying exclusively with the wave nature of life. So that's what that means. So self-realization, capital S is water, the water. So realizing myself, realizing the water aspect, that aspect of me that is never dying, never being born, eternal, stable, unchanging, unseparate, not isolated. It is connected with everything. I am all of it, the whole lot. So that is what we would, another definition, self-realization, freedom from the story of me. Not that the story of me disappears, but it's supported by my identification and my being established, known, consciously realized on that infinite level of consciousness. So, they're my definitions for enlightenment. And what's the time? Half an hour. I thought it would be half an hour. Ian has asked a question. Is that an analogy for the unified field of energy? Yes. So the physicists talk about unified field, and unified field is in terms of physics, unified field is the description for that, for the water exactly, that field of existence which underlies the whole universe and underlies and expressed as, physics, it's always looking for that key, that one thing, the one aspect of physical universe that explains and is the source of everything else. And that is what they're calling unified field, that field of existence that is everything. So that's what unified field is. The other analogy Maharishi Yogi used to use was the sap in the flower. So you have a flower, and You have the expressions of the flower, the stem and the petal, the thorn, and they are the expressions. So that would be the waves, the appearance, the surface values. And then you have the sap, which is that inner value. Now, the sap is kind of unmanifest. It's not immediately apparent, but it exists, has to exist, because the surface expressions are made of it. You just poke a little and then you find the sap. So it's that two values, the essence and then the expressions. So this is what we want to do with our own lives, where we know the expressions, we know the hand, the table, the drink, but maybe we don't quite fully know and exist and are connected with that inner value. So enlightenment would be that totality, the totality of experience. Wave, water, together, togetherness, fullness. Good. Thank you for the question, Ian. Okay, so that's all for today, this morning. If you would like to post up any other definitions that you would like me to raise to the group, then please put them in the comments to this video. And if you have any questions, again, put them in the comments and I'll cover them in the first 5 minutes of next week's session.